Hey, it's Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
Well, the doctor is in. It's been a while. Dr. David Delk and his favorite daughter, Heather, there. We're going to talk to Heather about adoption. And good to have you guys.
Good to be with you.
Thanks.
Before I tell you how much I love that picture of your wife, Tricia, and the kids there on the couch and the PJs, I guess it was for Christmas. I thought, man, that picture is awesome. It's only missing one thing. Dr. Delk in his PJs.
Well, you're probably not going to see that on this side of eternity.
Well, here, before we get into important stuff, I lit a candle for you. Here it is.
Oh, look at
it's
that.
It's a scented candle. There you go.
Always developing our relationship with each other, aren't you, Rick?
That's very romantic, Rick.
Hey, David, remember back in the day when we used to have shows in the studio? What was that, 2016? When was that?
Yeah, way back
that
when.
was a decade ago, many moons. And my first encounter with you guys, you offered a re-gifting conversation of candles.
And it's stuck ever since.
You know what? And two, I mean, you've always been a great guest, but you've somehow brought in amazing guests. Everybody you brought in, just off the chain. And some of those we continue to connect with today. I'm trying to remember, was Jay and Tracy, was that, did we get those through David?
I think so.
Yeah, Jay and Tracy, Kit Cumming, Dutch Nelson, a bunch of good ones.
Yeah.
And then I saw a picture of the, I can't remember where I saw it. I'm sorry, but it was with God's Warriors and one with Ant there. And it just touched my heart. I was like, dang it. But anyway, great picture.
Yeah, we miss old Ant.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about you before we talk with Heather. I know Heather's got a lot of great stuff to say. What are you doing things with God's Warriors? I know things have shut down because of COVID, but what are you doing there? And what are you up to with FCA and the like, if you will?
Well, no God's Warriors. I mean, we've done a couple of shows since last year. Normally we do probably 30 to 40 shows a year. Right now we're just not doing anything because of COVID restrictions. Schools are not allowing, a lot of folks to come back in yet and visit and mingle with the students. So we have a team sitting on G and waiting on O. So right now we're just not doing a whole lot. FCA is business as usual. Been on some development trips with donors, doing hunts and fishing trips, and we've had a great year of giving. Even though we haven't, had a lot of the regular ministry opportunities that we normally have, but we've got some faithful givers that have supported us through this difficult time. So the ministry is good. The financial resources and the relationships are strong, and we're just hopefully to have summer camp season this year.
Now, these trips you're having to take to go hunting and fishing, are you suffering through for the Lord? I mean, is it hard?
It is definitely a test of my faith to persevere through these difficult times, but I'm managing to do it. And good. Jesus is Lord, and so I'm just following him with a 270 in my hand.
We will continue to pray for you, brother, because I know you're suffering. So
I did notice on his Facebook he's there, and now he's let me in on what exactly they're doing. They went on a hunting trip, and he has a line of pheasants. Did you shoot all those pheasants?
I cannot claim victory over the 40 pheasants that you saw, but I did partake in a few of those birds that dropped out of the sky. So we had a great time. Yeah, it's in South Dakota. The place we go is owned by Todd Worrell, who used to be a pitcher for the Dodgers and the St. Louis Cardinals.
Okay.
And Todd owns the place, has developed it, and it's a spectacular place to go visit. One of my favorite states, ran by Christy Noam in the country, and so we just enjoy our time out there.
That's awesome. Dr. David Delk and Heather Elise, his daughter there, she's going to talk about adoption in a second. Heather, I got to know, I love that what he just said about I've never heard it before, sitting on G. What was the other? Waiting
on O.
Sitting on G, waiting on O.
Is that something he used growing up, or is that just something he came up with?
I'm pretty sure he just came up with that just now.
I stole it from a neighbor.
I love that. All right. What was it like growing up with the good doctor there?
Oh man.
Now be honest, Heather.
Are you still getting counseling, or has that stopped?
It's ongoing. It'll probably always be ongoing. It was definitely, he started God's Warriors when I was in elementary school and started with FCA when I was in elementary school. And I remember thinking like, I couldn't wait to get to middle school so I could participate.
Yeah.
And then I got to middle school, and one of the first shows that he came to at my school, we're all sitting in the gym lined up, all these cool kids. And he points to me and he says, "All right, boys, now that's my daughter right there." And this became like an ongoing thing every time he came. "Here's my daughter. Now let me rip a phone book and break a bat and show you how strong I am. Don't ever go near her." So I kind of wish sometimes I could revert back to elementary and take that wish back that I was so excited and ready to go. But, we have an awesome home. We have a very close family. Got a wonderful sister. She said hi a few minutes ago on there. So she's obviously watching us right now. Yep. But, it was awesome to have, there she is again, popping up. Awesome to have in safe environment and a loving home, and so many girls are missing that father relationship in our country and in our culture. And so it's a huge blessing to us to have that. And even when it seemed like at times he was a little overprotective, we were grateful because it did lead us to good futures with good spouses. So.
And no dates in middle school or high school, right? Because it's always there.
Yeah.
And I would imagine the young gentlemen that would come to the door for date time, they probably sweated puddles and their knees were knocking every single second, no doubt.
I enjoyed every minute of it.
There weren't very many of them. Let's just say that. So, in fact, my husband knew him before I knew my husband. So he wasn't afraid of him. And he'll tell you to this day, he wasn't afraid of my dad. He said the one to be afraid of is really my mom. So.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Look out.
Gotta look out for mom.
Right.
We've got Dr. David Delk and Heather, his daughter, on the show today. And yeah, we did have Christy on a number of years ago. She was a great guest as well. Heather, let's go ahead and talk about adoption, because that's really near and dear to your heart. Tell us a little bit about your story and how that's really transformed your world.
Sure. I'll try to condense it because I could talk about it for hours. But, we had a family friend. My parents had a family friend, and we got to be present when they brought their son home. We were at the airport, and that was kind of the defining moment for me, where I knew at that moment, and I was in middle school, I saw braces all over my teeth, and this little boy thought this was like the coolest thing, to have. He was very interested in that. And so that was a defining moment for me, where I knew at that point I would adopt at some point. I didn't know what that would look like or how that would work. And, fast forward, I met my husband, and on our very first date, we actually talked about adoption. So he actually had a heart for it. He has a cousin, his favorite cousin, he'll tell you, that's adopted. And so we had that conversation, which is a pretty heavy conversation to have on a first date, but we talked about that from the beginning. And then we got married and decided it was time to start a family, and thought, let's go ahead and do both. Let's start, try to have a biological child. Let's also start this adoption route. We had a lot of misnomers about the adoption world and what that looked like. And we sort of thought, in our head, you had to be older, and we were young. We were 22 and 25 when we got married. So we thought, okay, this is something we'll do in our late 30s, early 40s, maybe. It's going to take us years. It's going to take all this money. So let's go ahead and start this process and just get an idea of what it looks like. So we started that process. We also at the same time got pregnant. We lost our first baby about 2 months into the pregnancy. And so we gave ourselves a few months to kind of, work through that and heal through that, but also knowing we weren't pausing the adoption stuff. We jumped into it full board. So we met with some friends of ours through, they have an adoption agency consulting business called Faithful Adoptions. So we met with Courtney at Chick-fil-A one day, and she had brought one of her little girls that she had adopted. She was also pregnant at the time. So I think this was like number 4 for her, something like that, 4 kids at the time. And she just explained the process through us. And much to our surprise, she said, once we kind of get the financing together and here's all the different ways you can do that, you could have a baby in your home in 2 weeks. And we were like, wait a minute, what? This was and so we said, okay, let's figure this out. I've always wanted to be a mom. That was, growing up, if you would have said, what do you want to do? I wanted to be a mom. That was my life goal. So she gave us a stack of paperwork and said, hey, you need to fill this out. Take your time. And I went home that day and filled it out. And I said, hey, I'm done with my paperwork. She's like, there's like 30 pages in this packet. I said, I'm ready to go. So we did that. That was in August of 2010. And by January of 2011, our son was born and we were in the hospital holding him. And that was 10 years ago now. So
wow.
That was our first experience with adoption. That was through private adoption. Then fast forward, I kicked and screamed a little bit going into it, but my husband just kept praying the Lord would nudge my heart towards foster care. And fast forward to 2013, and we started the foster care route with our little girl and ended up adopting her in 2015. So
wow.
That's kind of our, in a nutshell. And then we also had another surprise in 2015, getting pregnant with our son right after my husband opened a business. So, so now we have Isaiah, who's 10, Ray, who's 7, and then Emmett, who is 4.
Wow. So you got your hands full, but your heart is full as well. Just having a house full of young kids that you are loving on and you are showing the love of Christ.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
David, how does that make you feel? I mean, you've seen the whole story live and in person, and what a story it is. I mean, how bold and courageous is it to, at a young age like that, what you say, 22 and 25 to start off? And I think it is a misnomer right out there that you think, hey, maybe late 30s, 40s, whatever, that'll be the time. But you guys just jumped in. Just right straight into the water. How does that make you and Tricia feel?
Oh, we're very proud of both of our girls, but, we knew Heather wanted to be a mom one day. Scripture tells us, to pay attention to two groups of people, orphans and widows. And so orphans is definitely something that our family has had a heart for. We thought about doing it, Trish and I, but, things didn't work out that way. But, it would happen, through our daughter. And with Heather and Daniel fighting the good fight of rescuing kids that would have a very bleak future, it just makes, a dad's heart really proud to see that. So I love the idea of rescuing kids that need help. And I'm glad that Heather and Daniel are open to that. And definitely every time those 2 little ones come through the front door, we're very thankful. Now, they do cause a ruckus when they're here, but it's a lot of fun to have them.
Now, Heather, what would you tell a family who has thought about it, who has kind of discussed it, but they're on the fence, not quite sure if they can handle it? What would you tell folks like that?
We've sat down with, countless couples at this point who've just had questions and want honesty. People who either struggle to have a biological child or this is their plan. We have some friends now who their plan A was to become foster parents and eventually adopt, however that looked. And they're young like we were. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is once you put your yes on the table to the Lord, you gotta hold on, put your seatbelt on and be ready to go. Because when you put it out there, he is going to use you and he's going to use the availability that you've given and he's going to stretch you further than you ever thought you could be stretched. Your circumstances sometimes might be a little more difficult than what you expected, but, and he's going to give you far more than you can handle because he wants you to lean on him through that process. We've been asked a lot of honest questions, like, is there, at the time, we didn't we didn't really know. We just assumed, just based off of people we had talked to. But, is there a difference in loving a child that doesn't share your blood versus loving a child that does share your blood? Now I can tell you, because I got all three or got both. No, there is no difference. Love goes a whole lot further than just your DNA, and something that we didn't fully even grasp, because I don't think that it's talked about a whole lot in our Western culture church, is how much adoption is intertwined with the gospel. That was just not something that we really understood until we walked through it and we started really studying adoption and how Christ adopted us. And so I think it's just such a beautiful picture on earth of our relationship with Christ and our adoption into his family and the sonship that we gain when we, become one of his children. That's what you're seeing here on earth through the physical adoption of orphans that we have here. So
yeah. Love it.
Heather, that is so amazing. Did you say your husband's name is Daniel? Did I hear? I wasn't.
Yes.
You guys just don't do anything halfway, do you? You've just
no.
Well,
No,
some of that's Delk blood, no doubt.
Yeah.
Not doing things halfway. Well, your parents are amazing. Your sister as well. Your family, your husband. We appreciate your. No doubt there have been sacrifices, and you'd be the first to say yes. But you guys just full tilt boogie, just move forward, and we appreciate that. Appreciate what you've done, and no doubt when you stand before Jesus, he's going to say, "Well done, good and faithful servant," to you. So, where can folks go to find out more about, as Dan mentioned, that if they're considering it, is there one place that can they follow you? How do they get there?
So I would say there's two things. It depends on what you're looking to do. There's private adoption. There's also obviously foster care. And the state of Georgia has a lot of children in foster care, and over 14,000 last year in very few homes. Barely 3,000, approved homes. So there's a couple of things. If you're looking for private adoption, Faithful Adoption Consultants is who we used. They are fantastic. Courtney and Emery Lott, I've known them for years. Emery was actually the middle school pastor at the church I grew up at. They're fantastic. They are, fully invested. To them, it's not a business, it's a calling to help place, children into homes that families are looking to adopt. And then obviously through foster care, I would recommend, if you do that, to go through a private organization like FaithBridge or Bethany Christian Services. We went through FaithBridge when we fostered our daughter, Ray. And then there's also, if you're just looking to adopt and you're open to older children, there's an entire website dedicated to that called It's My Turn Now. It is children in the state of Georgia whose parents' rights have already been terminated or they've surrendered them for whatever reason. And these are children ranging in age, 5 to 16, who are ready and waiting for a home, ready to be adopted and just somebody to love on them. So there's a couple of options depending on what route you want to go.
Wow. Love that. Dr. David Delk, his daughter there, Heather, and thanks for your story. Doc, we got to do a show with the entire Delk family and husbands, wives, grandkids. I mean,
can you fit everybody in one camera there?
We could do that if the lioness of the tribe of Delk will agree to do that.
She doesn't like cameras.
Maybe we'll bribe her with something,
That's all right. We'll sweet talk her into it, maybe with the hopes of a new diamond ring one day.
There you go.
That or a scented candle.
But I think
scented candle.
Scented candles will work out
she
fine.
She does love candles. She does. They're all over the house.
She's on the other side of the room here, so she's participating.
You need to eat fly right now.
Awesome. Dr. David Delk, hey, we got to have you back. Let's look at spring, and we'll get back with you. Heather, thank you so much. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
This is Faith Talk Live.